Hello everyone, welcome to episode number 111 of Bicycle Touring Talk. If you are new here, my name is George Schlakek and I am
the one and only.
As the title suggests, this series is about my passion of bicycle touring. My biggest tour to date was across Canada, coast to coast, distance-wise. It took me exactly 100 days, and now, 5 years later, I still feel like I need to share the stories so that others, like you, can benefit in some way. Perhaps you're planning a tour of your own, or you're just curious about this way of travel. Maybe you've already cycled across Canada and just like to compare notes. Whatever it is, I'm doing my best here to share what happened to me during those 100 days. Today's episode starts in Great Falls, New Brunswick. I had ridden there from some secret and possibly illegal camping spot early in the morning of Sunday, August 13th, 2017. A very kind motel owner had invited me to have breakfast with his hotel guests for the small fee of $5, which was a fantastic deal. It had led to conversations with people who seemed genuinely interested in my tour and made me realize that I had not spent any time in the company of others for quite a while. It actually felt weird to hop back on the bike and carry on afterwards. Before leaving Great Falls, I made one more stop. There actually was a McDonald's in town, which meant decent internet connection. New Brunswick Route 108 looked like it wasn't going to have any services for a very long stretch, but it was the shortest route toward the coast, and I was curious about it. I did not get very far. Just as I reached Drummond, a torrential downpour stopped me in my tracks. It was good timing though, as I had found shelter at a school. I was hoping to ride the bike right now. It was almost nice weather. Experience says that this kind of rain never lasts, so there's hope. Yeah, it's bad. Okay, so I'm here in my little corner. I waited until the rain tapered off. For the first time in a while, I put my full rain gear on. The ride continued like a roller coaster with lots of steep hills. In Quebec, I had a trail far away from the cars, all by myself. It was beautiful. Here I gotta put up with a crumbling road, no markings at all. The hills are very steep and I have to be careful on the downgrade because I can achieve speed of 50 kilometers or something like that, but you know, there are ruts in the road a foot deep from the truck tires. It's pretty bad. Yeah, it's rough. I got hot really fast and off came the rain gear. The weather had improved with sunshine peeking through the clouds, and I wasn't expecting any more rain. But there was that little gray cloud again, growing into a monster just behind me. I was coming down a hill doing 50 kilometers an hour when it hit me. The cold rain was hammering down on me so suddenly and so hard. I was completely drenched within seconds. I was definitely in trouble now, going quickly from sweating to shivering. This was a recipe for hypothermia, especially since the rain didn't seem to let up at all. But I was almost in the town of Plaster Rock. A sign indicated that there was a motel in town. I had not been planning to rent a room until Monday because of budget considerations, but had no choice now. Check-in, I was told that the power had just come back on and I wasn't going to get a proper receipt. That really wasn't my priority. I was grateful for the room and the hot shower. It took a long time to get warmed up again. This could have ended very badly as I had been shaking uncontrollably the whole time during check-in. The hot shower didn't come a moment too soon. Amazingly, some stuff inside my panniers had stayed fairly dry. A while later, I put on some dry clothes and walked into the village. The storm had passed and there was bright sunshine now, with only the puddles hinting of the recent downpour. I was on a mission to find a perfect hamburger, meaning a big heap of calories that my body was craving. I found something close to it at the local takeout place that also had a gazebo-type shelter to consume the food. On the way back to the motel, I found a convenience store and bought some potato chips and a couple of cans of beer. I was also due for doing my laundry, but there was no laundromat in town. Well, there was a bathtub, and that came in handy in this case. I finished the day watching some stupid shows on TV while gobbling down my beer and passed out at some point. What a first day in New Brunswick it had been.
Wow!
At this point, I'd like to ask you a favor. If you enjoyed this video so far, just reach for that like button and click it once. Thank you. The next day, I had breakfast at the motel, which was called the Settlers Inn, by the way. It consisted of nothing more than coffee and toast, with peanut butter and jam. The night in the room had allowed me to get a good rest, but it would have been nice to have a real breakfast, especially since it was advertised. To be fair, the owner of the hotel was very friendly, and she put out her personal jar of peanut butter just for me. My clothes had not dried completely overnight, but since the weather was nice and sunny now, I decided to put on my wet t-shirt and shorts so they would dry during the ride. It wasn't the most comfortable at first, but it worked. My ride was on New Brunswick Highway 108. After leaving Plaster Rock, I passed a sign warning of a 137-kilometer stretch without any services. Right from the start, it turned out to be a very challenging ride. Alrighty, I'm on New Brunswick route number 108. And let me tell you, it's a roller coaster. It's brutal. Not only were there lots of steep hills, the road was also in very poor conditions without proper shoulders. Some sections had no markings at all. I was surrounded by forests with logging roads leading into it here and there. They were all marked as private property of the Irving Corporation. Then there was the truck traffic, which made this ride anything but safe. It appears that Irving owns most of the forest in that area. Big billboards in the middle of nowhere advertise local jobs and international markets. At one point, I had sandwiches for lunch sitting on a rock that was put there to block off a logging road. The Irving family is one of the wealthiest families in Canada, but my first impression of New Brunswick was that it was rather poor, for the most part. My thoughts were about how it would be nice if Irving could sponsor a couple of rest areas with outhouses and picnic tables along such a long stretch of road and perhaps paved shoulders. Maybe a cycling trail? This was still on my mind when a big black bear jumped out of the bush only about 20 meters ahead of me. What was gonna happen next? What would you do if you came so close to a bear? I had sat down not far from there making salami sandwiches and eating them for lunch. Yeah, it freaked me out, but what did the bear do? I'll tell you in the next episode. Make sure you'll join me for it.